then that all evaporated, because what capitalism has to do when it saturates the market, then you have to start cutting labor costs. Then you have to start.
Okay, so
making
hold on. I
decisions.
got Erica chomping at the bit. Let Erica say go. She's chomping at the bit. Go ahead, Erica.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm just curious what Compton Jay's definition of capitalism is, because the original form of business, of the economy, is capitalism. Capitalism is the free exchange of goods and services. And so the way that he's talking about capitalism is confusing to me. Now, I would agree that what we have now is not working for the average American, but what I'm seeing is not a problem of capitalism, it's the problem of an oligarchy. We have steadily seen banks taking over more and more control. We saw the largest wealth transfer upwards during the pandemic and because of the CARES Act and things like that. So I'm curious why the free exchange of goods and services, which is actually what a basic economy is, that's what we would have done during the 1800s, right? You want this thing and I have this thing that I'm willing to trade you for it. That's capitalism. So while I agree that there are wealth disparities and there are problems, I'm curious what your definition of capitalism is and why you see that as the problem.
Well, this is a classic response to a critique of capitalism, is that, oh, what we have today is not actually capitalism. That's a classic response to a Marxist critique of capitalism. Capitalism, I define as exploitation, where you have to have a worker, you're paying them a wage that allows you a profit. So capitalism is based on exploitation. Is no way to have capitalism without exploitation, but we call it profit. Profit is actually stolen labor value from the worker. So
hold on, CJ. What if we had a situation where we were more like gig workers, right? So now there's no wage. There instead is an agreement of you provide a certain amount of value, you agree to a certain dollar amount for that value. So if we take away the wage and we instead, in this case, the person then, I guess would be a socialist idea, the person that would have control of their own labor completely. They would have control of the means, right? The means. Maybe if we had
they do not have the control. Gig work, you do not have control. There's an app that tells you what to do. You can't tell them, hey, I'm not making this delivery for this low cost. And then you have coercive sort of pressures on people who are doing gig work, because the regular work isn't working and it's also not cutting it. So you have people in gig society. Can I finish my point? You have people in a gig society, in a gig economy who are choosing to do gig work because the other avenues aren't producing enough income to sustain their life.
So you're saying gig work is no better than wage work, is what you're saying?
Absolutely not. Not in a capitalist system. We're still in the same system.
Okay.
And I do gig work. I've done 4 gig work jobs. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're confusing capitalism with what we call inflation and what's going on with the money printing. So that's why Bitcoin is important. It's on this side, right? That's why I got Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Okay, go ahead.
So this is where Bitcoin comes into play, right? Because you're saying that we're working harder and harder and harder, right? And we're getting less and less and less over time. And that's because of the money printer going berg. And that's because the Cantillon effect, right? Where all the people that are at the top of the pyramid scheme get all the money and then it trickles down to everybody else. So you're right. You're absolutely right. You're just confusing capitalism with inflation, right? And wage stuff. That's really what it is. It's really inflation is what you're speaking about. It's not really capitalism, because as Erica was saying, if I agree to pay you X amount for your services and we come to an agreement, that's a free market, and that's capitalism. That's the generic, and I think everybody can agree that's what capitalism is. But what you're saying, CJ, in my opinion, I think you're incorrect. I think that it's pretty much based on inflation. Is what you're saying. You're saying slavery or profit, or you're taking advantage of people, but nobody's making anybody work except for the fact that we live in a country that everybody has to work, right?